Okay, so in today's tutorial I'm going to be showing you what data types are. So let's explore the different data types and how you can use them. So the first type is string, and you will use this most of the time. This, numbers, and a few others that will be going down the line to see. So let's get into strings. So I'll load up the example here. So let's go into this first, strings. Used to represent textual data, which is basically words, sentences. You would use a string for that. Okay, so strings are created by enclosing characters in quotes, either single or double. Okay, so what this means is when you have a variable, whatever your variable is named, okay, if you want to pass a string, whatever you want to pass in, you put double quotes, or let me just do this. Let me say name2. Let me just say John for this one, okay? But gonna say it like this, okay? Okay, so these are the two ways that you can get strings. Put in any word or sentence, but make sure to wrap them in double quotes or single quotes, and that will be considered a string. Okay, so any type of text, you just wrap them in this and it's a string. It's as simple as that. So these are strings. Let's get into this. Okay, so numbers represent both integers and floating point numbers, which is basically these. Okay, but also notice the difference that I could have written something like this, but this means it's a string, not a number. Okay, that's the difference here. This is a string now, but now it's a number. Okay, and at the end of this I will be showing you how you can find out what the type of a variable is. So let's continue forward. So this is how numbers are done. Just write a number without any single or double quotes, and if you have any number that has a something like a decimal point, okay, this dot is considered a floating point number. Okay, so this is how you write floating point numbers, and this is how numbers are done. So let's move on to the next example, which is Boolean. So what is Boolean? Basically, Boolean is any type of value that is either true or false. Okay, so any variable that has the word true or false is considered a Boolean. A Boolean can be either true or false. So that's a Boolean, and as you can see, it's true. And let me just say false. Okay, and now it's false. Okay, so that's how true and false works. So let's move on to the next one, which is big int, which is short for big integer, which is basically big numbers. Okay, so let's move on to what a big int is. So used to represent integers that are too large to be represented by the number type. Okay, so what we were doing above, these are numbers, but numbers are small, right? 20, 30, 100, maybe 1,000, those are small. But a big number would be something like this. Okay, and to define whether your number is a number or a big int would be to either add this or to wrap your number in this big int function. So these are two ways to tell JavaScript that this is a big number, a big integer. Okay, so that's what big integers are. They're basically just numbers, but really long numbers. and you tell JavaScript this is a very big number using either an n or this big int function. That's it. As you can see, this one has an n, but this one does not have an n, but it added one because it's wrapped in the big int function. So let's move on to undefined, which is also a data type. What is undefined, right? So undefined represents a variable that has been declared but has not yet been assigned a value. So we've created a variable, okay, but this is considered declaring your variable. And if I gave you something like this, right? So I have defined my variable. So that's the difference. That's why you're seeing an undefined. If I save this, as you can see, it's defined. But if I don't define my variable, as you can see, it's undefined. So that's what this is. Okay, so next let's go to null. And null represents the intentional absence of an object value. Okay, basically saying that I have defined my variable, but there is nothing inside of it. That's it. That is all null is. That's what null is. And let's go into objects now. And what is an object? Used to store collections of data and more complex entities. Okay, so it's used to store collection of data, which is, this is called a property. Okay, and these are the values of that property. These can be strings or numbers, and I'm just showing that here. This is an object. Okay, objects are created by using the curly braces, which are these, okay, curly braces, and can contain properties and methods. These are properties, okay, and methods is a different thing that are like functions. A lot more to be discussed. Okay, there is a lot more actually to be discussed, because objects, I will be creating a whole other tutorial for that, because there is so much about objects. But this is a brief discussion of what an object is and how you can create your object. Okay, so anything inside of these curly braces is an object. Okay, so this is how an object works. So let's go into the next one, which are arrays. Okay, arrays are a special type of object used to store ordered collection of items, basically like this. And this is how an array is created. Basically, you put in a string and then you separate them by adding a comma, and anything like this inside of these brackets are considered an array element. Okay, and it doesn't just have to be this. Again, this requires a lot more to be discussed, but you can put in numbers, you can put in objects, and then there are different methods to access them, and I will be creating a separate tutorial on arrays, so subscribe for that one. But for now, this is an array, and if you can see, every array element will have a index, okay, and that is a number starting from 0 and going to however many there are, and also there is a length to show that there are this many items inside of this. Okay, so these are arrays. Let's go into our last one, which is going to be function. Okay, a function, also a type of object, which is true because this is a type of object. Okay, functions are first class objects in JavaScript that can be stored in variables, which basically means that it can be like this, or you can do something like const is equal to this. Okay, and then I can just access this, See, you can access this. So JavaScript functions are first class objects in JavaScript that can be stored in variables, like I just showed you. This is stored in a constant variable and passed as arguments. So I can pass in arguments to this and return from other functions. So if there was another function that I ended up putting this in, I could put that into the return of that function as well. Okay. So I will be creating a separate tutorial for functions to show you the different things and different ways of using functions and how something like a return works and closures and stuff like that as well. So this was functions. Okay, this is how a function works, and let's just see this. Okay, so I said at the end of the tutorial I'll be showing you how to check what the type of something is, and you can use this predefined keyword that is called type of, and that will tell you what each of these are. And let's just save this, and right now you will see that the first one, that is this, a word that is surrounded by double quotes, is a string. Numbers without quotes, double quotes, is a number. Anything that is true or false is a boolean. Any type of number that has an end at the end is a big integer or big int. Undefined is undefined, and null is actually an object. Okay, it is defined as an object. Okay, so this I already showed you is an object. Okay, and arrays are also a type of object. Okay, is a special type of object used to store ordered collection of items. Okay, so a function is a first class object. Type of a function is considered a function. Okay, so don't be confused by that. As you can see, all of these are the different type of data types that you will be using most of the time. Instead of big int, this doesn't get used a lot, but the rest get used a lot. So remember all of these. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers right now so that we can start creating full stack projects. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.